it's kind of
Yeah.
more of a social media room. But yes, sir. Yeah, we plan to
Yeah,
do
man.
some podcasts in the future in the room, I guess, for like studio style. But yeah, it was just kind of had the time, so we redid everything like as a social media room.
Yeah. Now I'm working on a similar setup in my basement,
Cool.
where I'll be able to do some in person stuff. I got some, and you and I'll get into a little bit of it, but I got some with AI now. I'm not a writer. Like when someone says, "Hey Jeff, you really ought to write this book," or "You ought to write," I'm like, I just it's just these. I just don't have the attention span, I think, and then what I've learned, John, is sometimes when people are when we're if like you, is someone who doesn't know has walked your shoes like I am, the guests that are listening to us today, like they're absolutely moved and they want to ask you more that helps pull out those things. Like, hey, well, why did you do this? Or tell me, well, what happened here? And then it makes it it helps me go down. So I'm working on that for the sole purpose of I've got about 3 stories or 4 stories that I really want. I'm going to have one of my friends come over, just kind of do an interview style to where it pulls that out of me in a raw context, and then use AI to help me model it.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, That's what I was thinking about, man. Cool, dude. Let me tell everybody who I'm talking to
Yes,
today.
please.
Excited. Man, I researched this guy up and just wanted to get to know more about him. Um, and I'm excited. So, in today's episode of the Jeff Robertson Show, I'm joined by John Wildsmith, a fitness and lifestyle coach, content creator, and motivational speaker. John is also a husband and a proud girl dad, and someone who's rebuilt his life after 15 years of addiction and incarceration. Today, he leads with faith, fitness, and purpose, building his brand Wyldstyle Fit and inspiring others to believe that change is possible, no matter how far you've fallen. Dude, I'm telling you, I want everybody else to hear what I told you is I was reading about your bio and your moment is of your rock bottom is happens to be standing in probably an elementary school or some
Yes.
setting like that with your daughter, and you have this realization of I think I was meant for a little more. And that's, man, I'm really excited to hear about that, our guests to hear about that, because I told you this privately, but I want to tell it again publicly is hopefully I can tell off you a little bit. But my kids absolutely was a game changer for me.
Yes.
And I realized that I just did not want to pass my, when I told someone the other day, they asked me, I'm like that, I need to keep my BS to me, but
Yeah.
it allows me it gave me purpose to show them what that I didn't want them to be, man. So that's really
Absolutely.
cool. Hey, tell me now. Let's talk about where you're at now. What's going on today in your world today?
Yeah. So day to day. So currently, my day job, I work for a landscape company, and I
Yeah,
do fertilization and weed control. So that's kind of my day to day. I'm pretty structured in my routine. Get up, I do my little morning prayers, meditation, and then I get to the gym, come back, fuel the body, and then get to work for the day. And I kind of spend some time throughout the day posting my content, really trying to dial in my social media, Instagram and TikTok. And then, yeah, come home, do the family thing. We're pretty good about sitting down and doing dinner together. That's kind of something we've recently started to re-implement. I'd say probably about a year that we've been doing that. We've been in this house for 3 years. And so just kind of really starting to make sure we end our day together as a unit collectively, regardless of sometimes we probably don't say a word to each other, and then other times we really try to engage, obviously, and just see how our days went. So that's a big part of my day that I look forward to. And then from there, just kind of like, yeah, nighttime routine. Daughter does homework. She's up. My daughter's in cheerleading, so that takes up a big part of our life. That's amazing. We're just getting into cheer season. Probably in about a month, they're doing all their pre-gaming right now. We're seeing some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and that's like to the whole girl dad thing, man. That's probably one of my favorite things to do because you'll hear some of the other dads when we go do these events. They're long days. We're just sitting there, and
yeah.
the girls aren't on stage for more than 3 minutes, so like they're just long days, and they can be a lot, right? But it's just so much to look forward to. It's so much fun. It gets us out of our element. It's like traveling. So we go to Galveston, just these little mini vacations almost. We're really able to just kind of spend that family time outside of our normal routine, and that's helpful. So that definitely is a big part of our life is that cheerleading.
Yeah. How old is she?
11.
Yeah, see, man, that's I ain't too far. I'm 13. My daughter's 13. Son
Oh, cool.
15,
Yeah,
daughter
right there.
13. Yeah, we're right there together. So I understand it from. I'll echo. I'll add something on. Um, is My daughter is year-round softball, and then
Okay. Yeah.
plays school volleyball, basketball, and then rolls into school softball.
Yes.
And last night, dude, she scored 17. She served 17 consecutive points for a walk-off win. Now,
Man, that's
so
amazing.
me, just like you, volleyball where I'm at can be a little quiet. I mean, you clap for the score, but it's not like, "Roar," you know. And I'm sitting on my hands. I'm sitting on my hands in the stands, and I'm like under my breath, going, "All right, baby, let's get to 21. Come on, let's get to 21."
That's amazing. That's cool. Yeah, year round, man. That's awesome. That keeps you busy.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, we stay. Yeah, but all right. So I wanted to add in something because what you said there's like tons of value for our dads out there. It's like, man, as busy as life gets, is that time at the dinner table, and it gets stole away from us. Sundays, we're generally going to find us sitting around that table for dinner together. And then in our weeks, we may gather in our kitchen because we got in later. We all kind of stand in a horseshoe, stand there just talking about each other's day, shooting a breeze. And so we really try to weave that into our schedule in those times. Our kids are like, they enjoy doing their own thing.
Yes.
We
Eat
might go
their
out
own
for
food.
dinner. Yeah. Um, that's and with your stuff, y'all travel a lot too. But like you're in Texas, it's so big. So, but does your tournaments take you all over? Orlando's big for cheerleading, is why I'm asking.
Yeah, so that's a great question. We are going to Orlando, possibly Tampa this year,
Mm.
and I think that'll be the beginning of 2026. But most of our competitions this past year were all local to Texas. I think Galveston was the farthest that we went, and then like San Marcos, and then so this year will be our first time to travel outside of Texas. But we're going to Tulsa as well. So this year being our first time traveling outside Texas, we'll be doing it twice. We go to Tulsa, I believe, November, and then sometime at the beginning of 2026 we go to Orlando, and then Tampa I think is in the mix. Not
Yeah.
They got to get a bid. I'm still learning how that
Yep.
works.
Yep. Yeah, so a little bit of softball's like that too, to where you qualify. I'm sure all of them are like this, but softball, I know there's like some qualifiers to go to some national invitation only type tournaments that are
Yes.
prestigious type. Yeah, um, we're pretty. And then my son, just speak on him. He's baseball year round, and then wrestling. So just a couple dudes here. When he's coming, he hit about sixth grade where he could go play do middle school wrestling. Is uh, you know, I didn't know. My cousins beat me up most of the time, so I didn't really know anything about the grappling back in the day, and I always felt like it was a disadvantage because I didn't understand conditioning. I am a very active physical fitness guy. As I got older, I found fitness and my enjoyment for it. So my kids were automatically like, "Hey, we're gonna work out. This is we stay active." And
Oh,
his was when he hit sixth grade. I was like, "Dude, you just let's go. I need you to go to wrestling. See if you like it. If you,
yep.
just go and try it." I said, but here's why. And he's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna listen. Every man needs to know how to grapple.
Yeah.
You just got to be able to know. And so I didn't learn that till later in life, like in police academies and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Oh
But
yeah. I bet they put you
yeah,
through it there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's only a week. Like it's something you probably would think you'd spend hours and hours but we did a lot of physical fitness. My mind wasn't right back then, John, to where I appreciated them getting me in shape. I thought it was punishment,
Yeah. No.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
improvement, not punishment. I heard a guy say
yeah.
that one time. It's improvement, not punishment.
Yeah. So and once I realized that as I got
Yeah.
older, but that's mine. My mind processes things a little differently. So I got him into that, and now we all work out. Like we're all going to be doing something. My son's still trying to between wrestling and baseball. You're struggling cutting weight and trying to gain weight,
Yeah.
and I'm just
Absolutely.
trying to get him to grow. And he's taller than, which I'm not the tallest thing in the world, but he's knocking on 5'9" or 5'10" now.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Getting
uh,
up there.
yeah, but he's super light, so we're working on that. I think his baseball game will improve. He just don't want to have to go the heavier weight classes in wrestling because it
Yeah.
gets competitive.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. It's two great sports. My father wrestled, so that's cool.
Yeah, Layer, and your fitness. Where you mentioned your landscape stuff, but you didn't mention how do you work in your workout routines?
So great. So as far as coaching or my personal workout
Yeah,
routines.
whatever how you want to weave it, brother.
So I just honestly stopped, hop back on the coaching side of things probably about 6 months ago. Maybe a little bit longer than that. And so I currently have one client, and then I had just a gentleman complete the program probably about 2 weeks ago. And so yeah, that's obviously implemented in my day quite a bit as far as a big part of my content. And then also, so my wife does what I like to call behind the scenes, and we're kind of putting together the business structure,
Yeah.
just start really working on the branding side of things, to be honest, and then just kind of pushing the content as we do that. So yes, sir. Does that make sense?
And I tell you something I did too was I got the word sometimes when I had people that come to me like wanted to do the fitness. I'd owned a gym for a while, and and it was out about 30 minutes from where we live. And then a couple guys that I worked out with or worked around here locally, they wanted me to train them. They just didn't want to come out there. And I was like, all right, I'll train because I used to work out close to, I used to work out in this little gym. Um, it was more of a strongman gym. I'm not a strongman guy, but it was one of the few places where it was quiet and they had a lot of free weights, which is what I like to use. I'm not a machine guy. I enjoy free weights and just kind of having to struggle through putting plates on. I think it's part of it, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
pinching your fingers on those freaking steel weights. So I had told him, so I was like, I'll train you, but I'm gonna work out beside you. And he's like, I'm good with that. So
Yeah.
he would just became workout partner, and I'd show him how to do all the stuff that we do, and then we'd end up talking business and dadding and all that. So that's another form that I found that I really enjoyed was finding a couple. There's a guy that was in there early in the mornings. It was he led it, and there was five others that would all come in and they'd all work out together. But he was the coach of that whole group, and there was no. So I thought that was a cool way to approach it too when you're trying to focus time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm definitely big on the gym community. I have a couple guys I work out pretty regularly. I move around gyms. I have a home gym in Sanger where I'm at, which is just probably 45 minutes north of Dallas.
Yeah.
And then Denton is just about 20 minutes south of me. I go there once a week, twice a week, and so kind of moving around. Like I'll schedule different days with a couple different group of guys. I have a sole group of guys that kind of travel with me regularly to different gyms. But yeah, just to your point of that gym community and having that time to where, yeah, you're
Yeah.
working out together, but you're also fellowshipping, if you will, in multiple different ways and aspects. And whether it's business, whether it's personal, whether it's, you name it. I think that's one of the best places to get it out. It's like a barber when you sit down and get your haircut. They hear your life story type stuff. You don't see them again, but when you have these relationships that you're with daily, that you're being able to spill your heart out to and really work through things together individually, man, that's powerful stuff.
I think and that's what I'm glad you brought it up. 'Cause that's where I wanted to just for the folks that are listening, that are
Yes.
tuning in is there's at time we're in a constant fight with time, and as a previous gym owner is a lot of times that was the number one thing that there's like, yeah, Jeff, I just don't have time. I'm here and
Jump
it
further.
is figuring out like, and this is what I told people, it's like, come work out with me. We're going to end up talking about kids and parenting, and we're going to talk about business because that's what I do at these days. And so it becomes more of just, I think it's a valuable use of your time when you can spend, between your sets is spending a few seconds, like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I'm good. Like we solved a lot. I probably saved a lot of folks' careers by putting their entrepreneur owner under stress when they were getting ready to fire them or make some serious changes, and me kind of helping them, getting them under a good stress load and saying, all right, look, is it a training problem, or is it do we
Yeah.
need to really get rid of the person? Like, it's probably a training problem, Jeff, because it just so I probably helped save a few people's careers by working out with their entrepreneur owners at some point in time too.
Yes, you got to learn to drop the ego, and the weight room's the best place to
Oh,
do that. And then as soon as you can do it physically, then you got to learn to do it mentally. And I'd say it's
yeah,
probably easier to drop. It's easier to drop your ego physically than it is mentally because you have something that'll physically humble you versus a reality check, right?
yeah.
Because sometimes those reality checks you want to be humbled by them, but at the same time your ego prevents you from being able to take the reality check. I think.
And the other thing working at that strongman gym, there's guys deadlifting 800,000 pounds there. Like they had the big platforms, right? And they had steel weights over there, so they were small and would fill the bars. They had freaking Volkswagen axles where they because their weights they would lift. They had so we was in there one day and we was over there getting it done the way we know how to get it done, and that guy was dropping those weights and it was ringing through that room. And my buddy he goes, "We'll never do that." And I said, "You ever seen him do a burpee?"
Yeah.
And my buddy was like, "You know what? No, I hadn't." I go, his relevance is his relevance. Our relevance is our relevance. Don't compare. Me and you aren't going to compare to him because he could lift both of us up, but I've never seen him get up and down off the floor.
There you go. Yeah, that's a great
Um,
analogy. Yes, sir. I'm a.
so
I,
to tell you that, guys, when you get in there, sometimes it is. I've gone in gyms before and been like, I've left one gym lifting some of the heavier weights and being able to manage my own and doing all these things to show up at a new gym and go, whew, it feels bad starting over again because they're slinging big weight. And I'm like, hey, can you show me a trick? And
yeah,
everybody, if you just go in and start moving, people, you'll create conversations. I end up being friends with most of them. I don't lift what they do, but there's a certain level of respect for people when you go in and you're putting in your work every day. And it doesn't have to be to the level they are. It
yes,
doesn't have to be to your level. It just going in and getting your work done
yes,
means a ton to people because
yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's
No,
underlooked.
I agree very much. It's a what unity of respect. I guess I don't know how I'm trying to say it. Forgive me, but like it's
Yeah,
just universal respect from
yeah.
going to the gym and just seeing people, yeah, put in that work on a daily basis. And yeah, you're right. Everybody's at a different step in their journey physically, for sure.
So when we talk about journey, man, we're into good, man. It's just like, folks, we've got the best little, like, you guys are just a feel good episode of two dudes shooting the breeze here, which is what I love.
Yes,
But walk me back.
yeah,
Let's
please.
walk me back through this moment that caught my eye, just kind of what John, whatever, how many years ago looked like. And
Yeah.
folks, folks, wherever you are, man, turn your volume up a little bit because it's going to be a super powerful story, and I'm excited for you all to hear it.
Yeah, no, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. So I guess, yeah, we'll go back to the daddy daughter dance, the relapse. I guess, kind of like you said, that's where the internal change, I guess you could say, was made. So I was probably 65 days out of prison. I did a year total, 11 months total. I was in Denton County Jail for about 7 months, and I transferred to TDC, the Texas Department of Corrections, in beginning of September of 2019, and then I got out at the very beginning of November, end of October, I believe. So I was on the ankle monitor for 60 days. Got a job, was doing my normal routine, but it was right after COVID or right around COVID. So I bought all my workout equipment, put it in my garage, and I drew a line in my garage to as far as I could walk on that ankle monitor. You know what I mean? And so I did that for about 60 days. They let me off the ankle monitor early. I had easy time as far as parole, all that. Completed all that with no problem. And then I think it was about a week after I got my ankle monitor off. It was my daughter's fifth birthday. It was her first birthday that I was present in a while, and I had a couple drinks that night, and it was, like I said, a week off the ankle monitor, and for whatever reason, that itch was just there, and so I ended up getting high that day. It was January 22nd, and then got high for about a week. And I knew the daddy daughter dance was coming up. This is, mind you, I've been sober for a year at this point. I've been sober from being incarcerated, getting out, being in the free world for 60 days, clean and sober, fully clean and sober. And I had a couple drinks, had that drink, and then got high. And then so once I was high for a couple of days, obviously my wife knew we were having some issues. That was just like, how could you do that after years of sobriety? And then the daddy daughter came, and this is where I think it really hit. Is before we were going to the dance, I was in our room, like hands and knees on the ground, in tears, like, please don't make me go do this. And that just the mindset of, please don't make me go to do something that I'm supposed to not only be grateful for, but just be extravagantly happy to go spend time with my daughter. I'm begging her to not make me go. And that's the thing about my drug use, is I was the type that, man, I'd crawl in the corner just begging for mercy after my mistakes, I guess, if you will. And
Yeah.
so ended up pulling it together. Went to the daddy daughter dance, and it was just the faces that she made, the pictures that I saw. It was just unbearable. I mean, a guilty conscience when you can't look in the mirror at yourself, that'll destroy anything that you got going, and that's where I was just down and out, rock bottom. To your point of kids will change everything. The unfortunate part about my story is that first 5 years of my daughter's life, I was in the trenches, if you will, and it didn't click at first. The being married, the home life, it didn't click. I was still deep in my addiction, and it took that moment of being because I wasn't ever in a clear state of mind. So once I had that year of clean time, and then relapsed with a clear, what was a clear state of mind, and seeing that my surroundings, how fast they changed, how quick everything just went drastically back to horrible. Like there's no in between. It was just this isn't for me anymore. I realized how much damage I was doing to my wife. She stuck through me, for years through this, and how much damage it just did to my daughter right then and there. She had no idea at the time. She does now. We talked about it. But it was that level of guilt that whole night. Like you said, it was elementary school. Kids are running around everywhere, and I'm just like dying to leave because I was just so uncomfortable, and I just was dreading a situation, a scenario that I was supposed to enjoy, and it was our first time together. My father took her to the daddy daughter the year before, and so she was familiar with it. They did the whole limousine style. My mom drove them or whatever. My wife did the same thing. We're in the back together. And so it was such a surreal moment of this is supposed to be a great time. And I'm supposed to be happy right now. And I was guilt. I mean, I can't express how much guilt was the changing moment. Like that feeling itself is what changed everything. It's a hard thing to say because like it's supposed to be a happy moment, right?
Yeah, no, you're right, and I think, and I told you, and for the folks who don't know this, I used to be a police officer, had a very 7 years of task in um, narcotics enforcement, of drug enforcement, and man, so I know both sides of this, and when I've talked to a lot of folks, back on the job and off the job, and what you'll find in non-police work is the same. Is like we all carry this element of shame based off just the mistakes and things that you've done, and what you're doing is not supposed to be there, and that exposure to the world. I think I was so when after I told you I got arrested for DUI. When the hardest thing I ever did, John, was go back into a room full of my peers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like because I was, man, you talk like we drink, but beer was most time our choice. And even after that, I got a lot of all that stuff under control. Probably still just didn't do a lot of reckless behaviors or destructive behaviors. I started dialing in those. My wife had told me I had destructive behaviors, but back when we were dating, and so Saints like they had to go in that room, dude, with those, and I'm sitting on my hands, and I think on the way we was a bunch of us rode together, and they stopped and got some beer. So I'm like, nah, I'm not going to drink no beer. I don't want nobody smelling beer on my breath. And damn, if one of the guys didn't spill beer on my pants,
Oh no.
and yeah, and I was like, yes, it was. Um, that was one of those things. But dude, so your daughter at that time is probably what, 6 or 7?
6. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought, man. Where does where did that start for you, your drug addiction? And the other thing I'd like to know, if you don't mind sharing, just drug of choice. Like, what was you using back then that was
So meth.
meth? Okay, yeah,
Yes,
right.
sir.
So
Yeah.
investigate a lot of cases like that as around folks that, all right, so that's why yeah, all right, because I that was I worked a case that was been basically that was in a community that had really been, they were just overdoing it,
Yeah.
and their labor, like this town's labor was going down, and just different their the folks that were selling drugs there started selling too much, and they were over
Yeah. Yeah.
prescribing to the community, right? So it became this big problem, and they're like, hey, we're getting, it ain't no longer about little kids going out here and experiment with death. Like we have an addiction problem in our workforces, and our families are starting to be disrupted by this, and that's where like we kind of come along there. So that's all right. So that's where I understand kind of that on that part of it. Where was John? When did you get started with that? It's like when
So
your earlier days when you was a teenager, like you hear a lot of folks say, or how did drugs just get introduced into your life?
yeah, so definitely like as a teenager, so it's kind of weird. I went to military school my seventh grade year, and that's where I was introduced to drugs, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I did a couple, I smoked weed there and did like cocaine a little bit, and then I got kicked out of there for that specifically. And then when I got home, I was just kind of on a tear. You know what I mean? Like I got sitting there for getting in trouble, just minor, just acting up, I guess if you will. And then once I got to high school, I was just on a tear. Started snorting a lot of cocaine around then, and then just graduated to methamphetamines. And I did meth for probably on and off my high school career. And then
Yeah.
once 18, 19 hit, it was pretty much an everyday addiction. And then when I hit 21, that was another step up to just another terror in life. And man, I was strong in my addiction for about 12 years, and then I was an
Yeah.
IV meth user with injecting it for
Yeah.
about 2 years, and that was about the last 2 years of my use.
Yeah. That's supercharging, man. Holy smokes. That
Yeah, it was a lot.
was you. What year? Did you get started?
That I got started doing it. It would have been some 20 or 2000, 2008, 2009 when I
Yeah. All
really.
right. So I was trying to give some perspective just for the
Yeah,
audience. Like a lot of meth was kind of the what I would say is the prelude to what is fentanyl now.
yeah, yeah,
Back in our day, like it was a lot of meth that was manufactured in Mexico, came across into Texas, but then you had California and Texas labs. Meth was then it got to be where it's super easy to make, folks. So it's you could with a few household ingredients, you could realistically make your own meth in a Mountain Dew bottle. So you would always see that type of stuff. After I got pulled over after my arrest, John. I was not drinking and driving back then, but I was coming back home one night. I think I had a headlight out, or there was something wrong with my car, maybe tail light out, and it was because it was held together duct tape because I had a company car back when I was at work, and I I don't do it as much, and then I try to stay away from. But man, I love Diet Mountain Dew. Like it's just one of those. It's just it's so I would drink one in the morning. Then if like now if I know I'm going to stay up beyond a normal bedtime, like a Diet Mountain Dew about 4:30 will get me to where I need to be, and I would
yeah.
just dump the bottles in behind my car seat. So I was working two jobs back then, and all sorts of craziness. And I got pulled over, and the guy was like, "What's all these Mountain Dew bottles for?" And I was like, "I know what you're angling for. I ain't you. I'm not making. I'm not making
Yes.
meth."
So it's
So
crazy. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna tell like for the folks that know that's out there is just like that flow of meth still as prevalent as it always was, I feel like, but it gets overshadowed because of the fentanyl and the fentanyl deaths. There's not generally you had a lot of addiction that was associated with meth, but I don't really ever remember having anybody overdose on meth. Like it would
Yeah,
then
agreed.
yeah, I've never really heard of anybody. Now you die from long term effects just because of the chemicals that are in it, but I've never heard of a meth overdose, and it might have been
Yeah,
a heart attack or something other that was the outcome of that, but like not like a fentanyl or an opioid type thing. So just to
I,
educate everybody who's listening to us.
yeah, no, I agree on that very much. It's kind of it's unfortunate that's it's fortunate that's the case because to your point, I think it makes it to where some people don't realize the severity of it because of that. Because oh yeah, you can't overdose on it. But to your point about the 2000s being the early wave before fentanyl, if you want my opinion on that,
Yeah,
I think and there's a lot of controversy on this. I've had these conversations a lot, but I think Breaking Bad had a negative uh, side effect or played a huge part in that. I didn't watch that until just 2 years ago, and my opinion on that again it's probably against most, but I don't mind the show. It was a cool show. Like once I watched it as being sober from it was cool. But in the mix when I was in the drugs and that I would hear people, oh hey, you want to come over watch Breaking Bad or whatever. I'm like, for one, I don't want to come watch a TV show that I'm living a miserable life because not to say that I was living this cool life making tons of money, not that at all, but I was living that addiction that show portrayed. And a lot of people, I mean, you had action figures of these people,
yeah,
in suits and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't understand how they're promoting such a negative thing and making it look cool and making people turn to it, whether they turn to selling it, whether they turn to cooking it, whether they turn to just trying to make a life because of it. I think that's why the early 2000s played a huge role in that. And it just took, and I mean, I've seen people do it. I've seen people from never doing it, never touching it, not knowing what it is, going to try the drug or just wanting to be in it somehow. And so I think that was when you said early 2000s, that's my take on why I think that was a big part of it.
No, hey, listen, you're spot on, because you had, like, in the crack world, you had the Wire, and
Yeah,
the Wire. If
yeah,
you look at the Wire, you had, it's inner city Baltimore, so you had all of that. And listen, you're spot on your side of it. I never watched any of those. Still haven't watched any of them to this day because I lived it. I worked it all the time,
yeah,
and I was like, I don't want that. Now the old Miami Vice, like I got started off Miami Vice, like that was I grew up
yeah,
on that as a
yeah.
kid.
Okay.
I dressed the part, like that was my gateway into what I wanted to do. Was I just fell in love with the TV show Miami Vice, and
Yes,
but outside
but
of after
that's a
that, I
good
watched.
outlook though.
Say that again.
That's a good outlook though. Wanted to.
But like I didn't I don't I've tried to sit down and watch the shows now, but I can't. I lose interest in it, and my mind will wander back to my childhood then, and I put a lot of stuff to bed, so I pay attention to things that kind of evoke emotion out of me,
Yeah.
in positive or negative ways. And if I can't re-get into it, because I told my son one day they like to watch, they'll binge watch a show or whatever, and I go, if you guys want to watch something with Dad, I'll watch Miami Vice with you. And they were like, no, we're good. So
That's
you
awesome.
but here's what I want everyone to know, as well as you've lived all this life, and at that school that night, you you start. This is at that 15 year, you start over. And what I wanted to know is, like, you had to relearn everything and how to live sober and how to be a husband, how to be a father. What what is those like? And I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want to help. I want to educate folks along the way here. Is I know a lot. I've worked with a lot of folks with addiction on the job years later. Like I'm 20 years removed almost from my job now, and just my heart breaks. And I love to help people and stuff. And just knowing that we can guide everyone to, but they got to make those decisions. And folks that have addiction, knowing about them it's a struggle. And what you'll find sometimes, you're always addicted to something. They overindulge in a lot of other areas and different things. So I wanted to put that out there for folks. But you were talking about you having to rebuild your identity, and relearn all these things. What helped you there?
Um, Man, that's a great question. So, um, folks, so as far as what helped me to make that shift was not focusing on the things I wasn't trying to do and start focusing on the things that could take my mind off of it. So
Yeah, love it.
as far as dropping the addiction, it's funny you said burpees because that was a huge part of uh, me stopping doing meth. I mean, that was really that I did a ton of burpees obviously while I was incarcerated. And when I got out, I still carried that habit. And then I got to a point where I just wore myself out with burpees to kind of not focus on thinking instead of white knuckling it. People say when you're trying to hold on to something until you lose grip. So I was white knuckling my addiction, saying I'm not going to do meth. I'm not going to do meth until I just was giving all that attention, and I ended up doing it. So instead of doing that, I just focused all my attention on my fitness, on my health, on my family. First and foremost, my wife has been my biggest fan and has stuck with me through all of this. And um, during that relapse, kind of sitting down with her and just seeing how much her and I have been through. We got divorced before I went to prison, and then got remarried 2 years ago. So we were together about 4 years out of prison, still together, still working together, and just relearning each other. To your point, and I think that was the biggest eye opener as far as the relearning my entire life was our relationship because we had to relearn each other as me being sober. She knew me as a meth addict. I mean, my entire time with her, 10 years prior to that, I was a drug addict, and so my decision making wasn't clear. I allowed her to take the reins in most of our finances and most of our day job, like our day to day. She took the reins of that because I was just off in the mix. And so for me coming back and being sober, there was that relearning each other to kind of reestablish those roles, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that was very hard. It's still very hard. And we try to center our lives, our day to day around our faith. And so to rewrite those roles again, if you will, if that's the right way to say it, in our faith has been the challenge, right? And that's probably been our biggest challenge, and that's still to this day our challenge. But I think it's a great one because it allows us to focus on that every day with each other. Nothing gets bored. We don't get stagnant. We know we have to work on our relationship on a daily basis. And as being a drug addict, I have to work on my addiction on a daily basis. So it kind of all aligns in just a giant personal development or personal growth state that we're just constantly in. And I don't think if we went through all that, we would be there because we were just, I mean, very complacent, very stagnant, when you don't have that. And so it was a blessing to be able to see that shift and to really focus our growth on a daily basis together.
Yeah, that's good, dude. I think you got to continue to do that, folks. Even if you live in a sober life, you listen to this stuff. Even if you lived a sober life, you were born in the church, you've been in the church, and you've just walked a very clean life, and you've never seen the evils of the world. Date your wife.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Make sure, and I don't. We don't argue, man. I don't. I got a great teammate. I absolutely have a great teammate who's very patient, has helped me work through a lot of the same stuff. Because what I was going to ask you too. Where's mom and dad? Where's your mom and dad in your picture going through all this? And was they active in your life coming up, or what does that look like for you?
Great question. Yeah, so I have a great mother and father. My father was an airline pilot and a Marine. He was a major in the Marine Corps. And my mom, yeah, she's just a saint, man. We got when I got out of prison, her and I became best friends. Before
Yeah,
that, her and I had almost probably no relationship. My father is man, he's just like yeah, he's a great man. And so we communicate pretty often. We're around each other all the time. My daughter and my father have a great relationship. He has dementia, onset dementia, and so
yeah,
that's kind of been something going on the past 2 years. Which I got out of prison right when it got. I said 2 years. I guess when I got out of prison, it really started to hit, and so him and I were able to kind of still develop that relationship before things got really bad, and that was a blessing. You know what I mean? Like it
yeah.
was I could have done way more time than I did. It was a short bid, and I was able to really kind of get out before things got bad. So that was just being able to see things from the positive light. That was a huge blessing. But yeah, no, we have a great relationship. We spend a lot of time together. They
That's
they
good.
were they were
You
in the
know,
mix with me. To your point.
yeah, no, that's just like I asked because I didn't want people to be able to make the assumption that John had a bad childhood.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Because it's
So
yeah,
I had a great childhood, to be honest. I was a
yep,
Liberty Christian, went to private school. That's kind of where I started getting in the mix as far as getting in trouble. Went to that military school, and then just like I said, on a tear from there. So yeah, that's a side of it that you don't see a lot. I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But to your point, yeah, like I have a lot of friends that kind of the vice versa. Had a harder upbringing, and then ended up just kind of going on that straight and narrow, which is a beautiful thing. And then I kind of flip script on that, if you will.
yeah. Now, like what I mean, because it's easy. Like, oh, I wonder what his child, and that ain't because that's out when just knowing the game is there is a more often than not you're going to find this story associated with a broken home and an abusive mother or father.
Yeah,
Right? It's just I
absolutely,
can tell you from experience is this.
absolutely.
So just to let folks know that this affects all families. It
Yeah,
affects
absolutely.
and but hey man, listen, do you ever think about too like and I think about this with my son, and this is he. If you ever talk, you ever talk to him, he'll tell you this. Is I tell him every day how grateful I am that he came to raise me.
Yes.
Right? I'm the dad here's just kind of helping you navigate because I'm older than you and I got all this experience. And what'll happen is I'll get these urges of. Because I didn't tell him a lot of my stories and backgrounds and stuff, and every now and then a story that'll pop in my head and it'll be like, and I'll wait and it'll kind of won't go away. And I'll talk to my wife and I'm like, I really get this feeling I need to talk to the kids about this. Just that it's time for them to hear about this part of my story. And she's like, okay. And I'll wait till the time's right. And I'll just share whatever story. Like, hey, I want to tell you a story about me growing up, or I want to tell you a story about my old job, and or something that happened, or what have you. And I've stopped and told him sometimes, like, I really am glad that because I was like saying, like, when you talk about the impact your daughter had to you on that stage, at that dance. he had the same effect on me that it was just one day I was doing something or whatever, and I knew I was like, hey, I ain't here to raise this guy. He's here to raise me. And I'm just supposed to drive him. And I tell him, man, I'm just supposed to get you to whatever level you're trying to get to before I leave this world. And I am 100. You tell me wherever you need to go and what your dreams are, and me and you're going to accomplish them. But you raised me way more than I'll ever raise you. He's smart. He goes to smart kid school, John.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, I love that. That's amazing. That's awesome.
He, so point like the other thing I was going to ask you too, like to have all of that. Have you ever paid attention to those impactful moments that you ever go back and revisit some moments, some interactions you may have had with people where you're like, maybe that was my timing, you know? And here's the example I'm going to give you. The trooper that arrested me, he he passed away. I never met him. We passed like I didn't know him at all. Knew of him, and in court we apologized to him, and that was the extent of me. I couldn't tell you what he looked like.
Okay.
Um, I was drunk when he pulled me over, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so going through the motions of everything, that was in all right. So that was a year. 12 years, 13 years later, I'm running a gym, 2 counties over, and his I met his son. And his
Oh
son didn't know
wow.
who I was and told me what an impact that I had made on his life through my gym and my fitness, and just encouraging his wife and him. And then our conversation goes, he said, all right, like we're a little bit later, we're talking a little bit more. And he's like, hey, someone said you used to be a police officer. I'm like, yeah. And then, and he says, I was like, oh, your dad, what was his name? And I go, holy crap. Right? So that negative, the worst thing that ever happened that I thought that ever happened to me, set me on a course to be one of the most impactful things for this
Yes.
couple. Right?
Yes.
So I was just curious because um your journey is like mine. It's full of recklessness. Only I was over here, you're over here, right? And here you and I are today, sitting in the middle. And I think it's a testament to us as people, and we're all on the path and the journey that we're on. And um, I chose mine, you chose yours. And as time
Yes.
goes on, we make different choices. You learn that. But I always like I would, if you haven't done any work on that, really challenge it. Especially you focus on your faith a lot about you know you had every opportunity to be good, but just something in you was like, hey, I want to go do some bad stuff for a while. And so I totally understand that, right? But I also know that somewhere along the lines, life pulled you back into this dude now who has this amazing story that's building this amazing family. And so if you go back and maybe just look at some of those other conversations you had or those little moments of just where it could have been in prison, it could have been 2 days ago, whatever, but I started finding these purposeful moments and then I started paying attention to it.
Yes.
Um, just paying attention to those purposeful moments. Um, if you a cool figure, I got a little speech I did on this one. If I have the right setting, and this is a great time to tell you about it. But if you use ChatGPT or AI any,
Yeah, a
all
little
right,
bit. Yes, sir.
yep, all right. So the reason why I ask that is this is a cool. You'll get it to teach you. Is go to your AI and ask it to teach you about the figure Mastema,
Okay.
Mastema, from the biblical days. Ask him to teach you Barrow. And basically, when the Great Flood came down, I'll send this to you too, so you don't forget if you need it. But
Cool.
when the
Perfect.
Great
Yeah, yeah.
Flood
So,
came down, all those old souls were still left around. So Mastema was the angel that came to basically clean up he was bad. He's like Josie Wales, right? He was just reading about him and learning about him. He was here just kind of clean up all the mess, and then he told God, "I want to stay." And he's kind of the guy that lets you walk on that evil path until it's time for you to get back in where you're supposed to be. He
yeah.
only, he only lets you go so far before he read or and for you, it was a stint in jail, a relapse, and because you already knew, right? Stint in jail is like, all right, it's time to change. Relapse, we get to make that choice. But then what happened? That he filled you full of that emotion in that dance that night, man. Study that dude a little bit. See, and let me know. I'd love to hear your
Yeah.
take on it from
Yes.
because I got into reading some of that old stuff with ChatGPT and teaching me like Book of Enoch and some things that you don't find in King
Oh,
James.
cool.
Just stuff interests me. I'm like, teach it to me on a sixth grade level, and right because I ain't a smart dude. But I figured out with AI, I can learn on the level I need to where I can have this
That's awesome.
conversation with you, right? So
That's
do
awesome.
that sometime, dude.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear
absolutely.
your take on it on that figure of Mastima, just that he's just like he was like a collector of those evil souls that was doing bad, and he was like, hey, I want to stay and kind of help manage the evil. So
Yeah,
he
no, I
walks.
like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a neat one.
So I think kind of the if I look back over the past couple of years as far as just the turning points into the transition where I'm at right now, obviously when I was still in my addiction, even when I was incarcerated, I wanted to change my life, but I wasn't sold on it yet, if you will, because obviously I relapsed, and when I relapsed, I still had this somewhat desire to do drugs, and after doing that, I started to pray to have, God to have that, take that desire away, and that over time definitely went. But if I look back, man, it was just my faith. And probably the past 2 years, I've just had so many different scenarios where I've told my story and just talking about certain things in my story that really resonated with people. And then just, I've gotten a text, a couple of weeks, couple months later, like, man, you just really, what you said changed, how I've been living my life. And I was talking to a buddy in the gym, doing our little talk while we're working out, like we were talking about earlier. And he's been to prison before too. We were talking about it, and he was kind of like, "Ah, oh, nah, man, I don't really want to talk about that, whatever." And it kind of flipped the switch in me because I'm the opposite. I want to talk about it. I
Yeah,
want to
same.
get that out. I want people to hear about it, just to not only see my personal change, but just the growth that can go through it collectively as a whole. And then I had another gentleman one time. I was talking about my meth use in front of his family, and I think it made them uncomfortable. And he kind of pulled me aside later. He's like, "Hey, maybe don't lead with that next time. I understand you have a powerful story, but maybe just tread lightly with the meth talk first." And I was like, "Okay, I hear what you're saying. Kids were around, maybe. You know what I mean?" That was my mindset walking away. I was like, "Okay, maybe." I go to church the next day, and I think it was Easter. I think it was on Easter. I had a buddy that passed away in an airplane accident a year prior to this, and he was a drug addict, just got back in his faith, and his parents got up to share their story. And as soon as they started to share their story, one of the first things that they said was he changed his life radically, and only got once he stopped doing drugs, he only got louder about his faith. Meaning, he, like you said earlier, when you're a drug addict, for one thing, you're going to be addicted to something else, whether it's good, whether it's bad, or whether you just turn to your faith and allow that to take over. And when they said he only got louder about his faith after his addiction, when that guy was telling me, if you will, to pipe down about it, I was like, okay, I took this as a sign from God. It was to only get louder, to only change my perspective, and to dig deeper into my history, my past, and just to start to share it on another level, because how much just that alone changed my life. You know what I mean? So I think if there's a turning point, I'd say it's this last Easter, and that's just where I really want to just get my story out there, just to share it with other people and let them know that you don't have to hit rock bottom. To your point of people that have had a very good life, like, man, that's a beautiful thing. And not only is that a beautiful thing, you're able to learn life lessons through other people. You know what I mean? You don't have to hit rock bottom and scrape your face against it, if you will. You can take other people's experiences and be smart enough to allow them to change your trajectory, how you're doing things. And so I think, go ahead.
No, I was just readjusting. You got me in my seat listening, brother. You got
I
that's good, John. Listen, what you said there, and this is I dropped this on somebody the other day. I said I get to tell my story based off of my perspective and my shortcomings, and so does John.
yes,
All right, and our stories puts us in different things. And I said, here's and I was teaching somebody how to do an opener, and I said most of you people in this room's never pulled in. There's never. You might drive by a jail, but you've never stepped foot in one. I lived most of my childhood in one, just visited. Most of you's never spent a week in county, much less a year in prison, like my friend John here. I said, but you're if you stop and look, you're living in your own hell. You're living in your own prison because maybe your relationship with your wife's not what it's supposed to be. You hardly talk to your kids because you're just uncomfortable being a parent. You don't know how to do all these things, and you're too stubborn to go ask for help. So the relationship I give to folks that are on you, like on mine, your side toward them is like we get to share our experiences from a very unique perspective, but most everybody's living in some kind of prison in their own
Yes.
life, right?
Yes.
So I
100%.
want like yes, you got you reminded me of that, dude. Of what you were saying is as dirty as mine, as dirty as John's story is, meth addict, right? As dirty as Jeff's story is, cop DUI. Guess what? I got to live it, man. I got to
Yes.
live it. I get to tell this amazing story of this journey that I got to help impact people and make other people, help change their lives. And but then those folks that have been, living, in that way, it's like it really helps speak to them to help them. Even the folks that think they got it all together, man, you're only one decision away from train wreck. Or I got some friends that were going through divorce in their 40s and 50s who have been in these relationships forever that never this is their first time experiencing separation.
Mhm.
And right, so you're just a and whether you got it all together or not, I just think sometimes it's a
Definitely not
and
all
listen,
together.
yeah, but hey, here's the thing, man. It's nice to get sometimes if you even if you living in a life you got to go, it's good to go and listen to dudes that have been there just to understand where you don't want to be,
Yes, absolutely,
right? So I mean, I
absolutely,
think,
and I think
yeah,
that's the biggest one of the biggest takeaways is just that is to be able to share the journey and just let people know they don't have to go through it. You know what I mean? Because to your point, not everybody wants to share it, and not everybody has got to share it. So I think there's the few and far between that want to and just see the impact. I've seen the impact that other people share in their story and their journey has helped me and helped me get out of my comfort zone to do the same thing. So that that's the goal is to just show other people you can get out of your comfort zone. You can share your story and let people know how much change has helped. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me.
yeah. Man, I told you I was going to hold us to 30 minutes, but this is too much. This is a good one, dude. I hope I didn't. I hope
We can
I
do a part
didn't.
two whenever you got the time.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny you say that because I was just getting ready to say, folks, I don't think I've only begun to scratch the surface, and I'll talk to you about something offline. I think would be a cool little series for us too. So,
Yeah,
just through
I'd
our
love to.
connections, yeah. But tell real quick, online coaching for your fitness that you're doing.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Wild style fit. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Just tell folks how they can get in touch with you, learn more about you and your mission on what you're doing. I'll wrap us up.
Yes, sir. So Wyldstyle Fit. My Instagram tag is Wyldstyle Fit, and then also my TikTok is the same thing. And so, man, the mission is just to help other people change their perspective, their addictions, if you will, and just really focus on the personal development and the personal growth side of life. Because I have learned the more I focus on my personal development and my personal walk with Jesus Christ, how much it's just really impacted me. And then just serving other people. I think we all have characteristic traits that we can help other people with. And I think our purpose is to serve others and to show them how we've come out of the darkness, how we've changed our lives, and just to put one foot in front of the other. Every day is a battle. Every day is a struggle. You just got to look at it as that I get to and not I got to.
Yeah,
That's my motto when I wake up in the morning.
man. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing it. It's folks, the thing you'll find is listening to these stories is super easy, and sometimes you have some cringe moments, but sometimes telling them's hard because you relive a lot of things.
Yes.
You relive a lot of things, but when you approach it from the mentality that John is, and being able to really put it out there for the greater good, and then like it or not, we both are leaving just a little bit of nuggets for our kids to come along and hear about
Yes,
Dad's
sir.
story as they get older and the things that we may have not been so comfortable talking with them about at their ages and early years. This is a lot of my job is leaving this for them too to learn more about their dad, so it lives on for our kids. And the whole point being is so that we've absolutely changed our family tree. And my mom started this with me. She set me off on a path to have two amazing kids, and here you are with
Yes.
your daughter and an amazing wife too, man. So I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful for your path, and it may have been hard as hell at times, but I'm glad you ended up on this show with me today, man. So I really
Yeah, me
appreciate
too.
you,
No, I
and I
appreciate it.
can't wait for us to catch up soon.
Yes, sir.